What everyday skill becomes suspicious if you're too good at it? Please like, subscribe and comment so I can create more videos for you. Recognizing faces. I was approaching the check-in counter of a hotel I didn't remember being in before when the desk clerk welcomed me by name. I was visibly startled. His co-worker explained he's got a freakish memory. I checked later, I had been there 3 years before. In his job, with the thousands of faces he sees a year, that is a little disturbing. Being calm. People accuse you of being cold if you are not as agitated as they are. Doctor here, I am always too calm during emergencies. I've found that I need to overcompensate by articulating what is happening. That is, Mr. Smith is having a heart attack. This is serious. We need to do X right now. I've learned that I have to be really aware that people around me can't tell what I'm thinking and I must make a constant effort to bring them along with me. Shuffling cards. Him, wanna play cards? Me, sure. Gambit routine with lightning speed. Him, not for money, right? Knowing where people keep items on their person. Friend will be looking for his keys or phone and I'll know what jacket pocket he left it in. It's worse if you can't move things from one pocket to another without them noticing. I once had a neighbor catch me while I was taking groceries out of my car and ask if I knew how to open locked doors as they locked themselves out by mistake. Went over to their door, took out a credit card, and shimmied my way in no more than 5 seconds. Probably was bittersweet for them. Walking silently. It's always a good skill to be able to be quiet in a moment's notice, but do it too well and you start appearing behind people and freaking them out. How long have you been there? Type things. I accidentally sneak up on my roommate like 3 times a week. Started doing it on purpose since it scares the shit out of him. A couple of years ago I locked my keys in my car in a Walmart parking lot. I went in and asked if they could help me. 2 employees came out with a jimmy. The one guy made a bet with the other that he could unlock my car in under a minute. He then proceeded to unlock my car in 15 seconds. I told him thanks, you must have a lot of practice. To which he laughed and walked away. Back in my military days I locked my keys in my car and asked one of the other soldiers in my platoon for help. What, you think because I'm black, that I know how to boost a car? No, I think that you told me that you used to boost cars. Oh yeah. Eavesdropping. I just passively listen to other people a lot when I'm alone, even if I'm doing something else. It gets really embarrassing when you bring up information you heard from their conversation forgetting that you weren't involved, or when you laugh at a joke said by someone across the room. Edit, my previous grammar frustrated me. Genuine kindness. My father was such a good soul, and people were suspicious about his kindness sometimes. I had a boss who was pretty much Mr. Rogers. It took a while to get used to it. We still work with each other sometimes and I still occasionally think he's being a sarcastic ass when he's definitely not. Tying a noose. At basic training I got tasked to help the drill sergeants create their haunted house battalion competition. Long story. My drill asked if anyone knew how to tie a noose, and I whipped out a perfect one in only a few seconds. He just looked at me and said private. What the fuck? When I was in about 5th grade, one kid showed some other kids that he could tie a noose, and since that was pretty much the most metal thing they had ever seen, they begged him to teach them how. It spread like wildfire. I think it took less than a week before everyone was tying nooses with every piece of string they could get their little hands on. The things we did for fun before the internet. I don't think it's really an everyday skill, but being able to tell somebody by the sound of their footsteps. When friends or family approach my door I know who's about to knock. I love creeping them out by saying come in, name here. I can do this, also. People have very distinct walks and they don't realize it. Maintaining composure during a crisis. Do it too much people and think you lack sympathy and are a sociopath. Typing. I'm definitely going to say typing. I type at a little over 150 WPM. I've been repeatedly accused of faking it, which sounds funny until it's your co-workers and boss saying it, calling your work into question. Edit, holy crow. Thanks for my most upvoted comment. To answer a couple questions, I'm a writer. I use a QWERTY keyboard and I've been typing for a minimum of 3 hours a day for the past 16 or so years. My typing speeds have been measured in varying tests for work and school, the lowest coming in at 138 about 4 years ago and middling out about 6 months ago at 154. The highest I've scored on any reliable test was 157 last year. Typing speeds like mine aren't all that uncommon, certainly not as much as they used to be. Nothing special, I just type a lot. I find it much weirder that people find fast typing unlikely. I had that issue at a job when I was 20. My coworkers didn't like me much because I got in an argument with the HR receptionist on my second day. My fault. I blame my own youthful ignorance of expectations, but it was actually just a simple bad attitude. Anyway, someone in the HR department told her supervisor that my high work output involved some sort of deception on my part and that I was pretend typing. The supervisor came over to my desk while I was working. As she approached, created a new document and typed everything she said to me verbatim. After she had finished telling me I was up for review, I asked her to look at what I had typed. Long story short, she apologized and I got a job as her assistant a few months later. Moral of the story, argue with actions, not words. Also, my WPM is more like 90. 110 on a good day. Your 150 is impressive to me. I used to be a dispatcher for Home Hearing Fuel in Juneau, Alaska, and when I meet people I'd say, "Oh, you live such and such street." I'd get an uncomfortable silence from them and have to tell them we deliver your oil. I work. Former garbage man here. Yup. Strike up a conversation with someone at a bar once who I absolutely fucking hated as a customer. These rotten pieces of shit would throw food and refuse straight into a can that I couldn't put on a tipper, meaning I have to pick up and dump 200 lbs of bullshit 6 feet in the air and dump by hand. As soon as I heard his last name I repeated the first and his address. That asshole knew. He knew. He had seen me throw that goddamned can into the middle of his yard on more than one occasion when I had rotten garbage juice running down the back of my neck because he was too lazy, stupid or cheap to use a fucking bag. I asked him politely to use a goddamn garbage bag or two and left it at that. And he did. Edit wanted to add, I am a former garbage man. That job is hell. Remembering things about a person from a few years ago when the person herself can't remember about it. You just look like a stalker and it's frustrating. I totally understand. People always think I'm a creep because I remember almost everything about them after meeting. Even if we met years before. Picking up on small details and remembering them for months. My friends are always like, how did you possibly remember that? I hate that. People ask me a question and I'm like, you asked me the same thing last week on Monday and the week before on Wednesday. You wore a black shirt that day and we discussed politics over lunch, which was a steak, but it's quite selective. There's a lot I don't remember. Remembering someone else's schedule. I've had people get a little freaked out when I ask how a specific appointment task is going when I remember them telling me about it days prior. My girlfriend does this for me because I can't remember what I need to do 5 minutes from now to save my life. Not me, but someone I know once mentioned to me back in their high school days, they were suspected of being a snitch because they would always be inclined to leave right before the bus happened. It wasn't that the guy was a snitch. He'd say that sometimes he just got a feeling, or he knew when a party was just dead. Some sort of sixth sense for this. Every time he got around to leaving, his buddies would usually follow suit, since they were usually the ones dealing anyways. I was that guy in high school. Kind of freaked me out. More often than not, the cops would drive by us as we were on the way out of the neighborhood. Knife sharpening. Unless you're chef. Edit, yes, I get it, people. Butchers too. I once unnerved a roommate when she walked into the kitchen and saw me casually humming while sharpening my big fuck off chef's knife. What? I just want to maintain my big fuck off chef's knife and chop garlic more efficiently. Whistling. I can whistle the Android text tone and it freaks people out. I can make a sound that is identical to the sound of a vibrating smartphone. It's basically a low hum through very slightly open lips and across your teeth. I used to sit in class and make this sound, and people would freak out and check their backpacks or purses, and the teacher would get super pissed, since having a phone go off repeatedly is distracting. Edit, whoa, this blew up a little. The YouTube web page, number 410, that Ushmail posted, skip to 650, is exactly what I do. I look at license plates. I don't know why, but it's everyday for me. But for some reason I pretty much had the license plate of the girl I like memorized. It was easy to remember and we worked the same place together every day, so I saw it a lot. One time I almost slipped and said, "Hey, were you driving out in today?" and almost mentioned that the truck's license plate looked just like hers. My father-in-law has the easiest license plate number I have ever seen in my 29 years of life. So one day when I was over his house I was like, "Hey, how was your trip to PetSmart?" He gave me this look like I was stalking, LOL. I explained I was at Target, right next to PetSmart store, and saw his car and I know his license plate number since it's extremely easy to remember. Remembering names. Oh hi Beth, remember me? We sat on a bench together for like 5 minutes about a year ago. Gets maced. So by an incidental combination of being a gearhead and at one time a tow truck driver, I am a little more observant when it comes to cars than most. I also have a knack for numbers and memorize things unintentionally. I've stopped mentioning to people that I saw their car somewhere or other, the movies for example. It's awkward explaining that I know your plate and can spot your POS. Centra from across the parking lot. I thought that was just standard car enthusiast life. I don't know Dave, who's that? Oh, the guy that drives a white Prius, right? Who's Jeremy? Black Camaro, right? I know like hundreds of people based solely on the cars they drive. Noticing details about people. I have moved around a lot and have worked in a lot of industries, one being in tourism. If I'm a tour guide and I notice a particular brand of clothing and ask someone if they're from a particular place and am right, it's me being observant and leads to a fun discussion. If I do the same thing in line getting coffee, it's considered creepy. I have very fast reading comprehension. People never believe me when I say that I've already read it and get frustrated that I don't take longer. I can't do simple math, but I read like lightning. I'm also very good with card handling, so everyone suspects that I cheat at poker. I encourage that because it keeps their eyes on my hands and not on my face. My dad and I are the same way. I'm sure you also can't stand people reading something to you when you can see what they're reading. A lot of the times people show me something they think I don't read it or that I didn't bother finishing it. Due to my job, property management, and me being a flake, used to forget my keys a lot, I've gotten really good at quickly breaking into houses and apartments. Having a really good memory. I've learned that this can creep people out. I'm not an inquisitive person at all and I'm not nosy, I just remember things when people tell me. So now, I'll often pretend like it's my first time hearing something when someone tells me a personal detail they've told me before. Hey son, let's drink your first beer together. Me, slams beer. Edit, I just started an account after lurking for years. Thanks for starting me off on a good foot, Reddit. Walking quietly, edit, this blew up. Thanks for all the stories, and obligatory ripping box. This. I was in marching band for a few years and learned how to walk so smoothly and quietly in formal shoes that I could fast walk across the entire gymnasium without being heard by people on the other side. As a man of larger stature, I am confused as to how people much lighter than me can stand to walk and jump around with such thunderous thuds. In freshman year of high school, a teacher accused me of cheating on a test because I finished it too quickly. Ironically, the test was on test-taking strategies. Anything borderline fancy with twirling knives. I carry and use my pocket knives quite often and have picked up ways to easily handle them. People either assume that I'm full weeb or a serial killer. I'm full weeb or a serial killer. Are the two mutually exclusive? Opening a beer without a proper bottle opener. No, I definitely don't practice this multiple times a day. Being able to measure somewhere between 5-9 inches using some arbitrary references on your hand. Sex. If you're too good, people will assume you've had a lot of it and are, therefore, a slut. That depends a lot on how old you are, where you live, and your gender. You basically have to be an under 30 woman living outside a left-leaning metropolitan area. If you're older, have sex-positive partners, or are a dude, people like that you make them feel good. Interrogating someone without them knowing. I was at a school thing, and one of my girl classmates really liked a guy, but was too nervous to talk to him. She asked me to figure out some of his info, and I ended up getting first name, last name, school, hobbies, and grade level. She was happy, but more than a little creeped out about how casually I did it. Really? That's creepy? This is one of the easiest things to do. Find some kind of opener, then show you are really interested in someone and start asking them questions. Maintain interest, like there is nothing more important you could be doing, making them feel comfortable and appreciated, and lots will come tumbling out. I guess people don't know this, but it's one of the easiest things in the world. Have your friend read The Like Switch. Fantastic book. I'll give you this free though, The Friendship Formula, proximity plus frequency plus duration plus intensity equals people liking you. In my experience in the US with people who don't have much background in science, being able to convert imperial weight to metric by knowing the conversion ratios makes them think I'm heavily involved in drugs. I wish we would switch already, the metric system is so much more intuitive. The ability to get into locked buildings. I've had my mom ask if I am a burglar and also said I am useful for when she's locked out. Hand washing. If you go above the wrist and you're not a surgeon, I'm going to kill you before you kill me. Sarcasm. It's gotten to the point where no one knows if what I'm saying is serious or not. Shanking things up and down. Like protein shakes and stuff. Whoa, man, you do that really fast. Edit, shaking. Autocorrect is the bane of my existence. I knew something was wrong when I got a notification saying I'd received a lot of comments. Recognizing people. There have been more than a few occasions where I will have not seen a person for years and in a few seconds of seeing their face I know who they are. I find it a little weird too because they may not recognize me. Also remembering things. I will remember situations from literally over a decade ago just from someone mentioning a name. Apparently, knowing drug names. I once told somebody that they could mix ibuprofen and acetaminophen because they don't fuck with each other and they thought I was a drug dealer for the longest time. SMH. As a guy, being good at undoing a bra with one hand while making out with a girl. If you do this too smoothly, she may suspect that you are a player. Best to fumble at it clumsily until it pops open. But don't fumble so much you ruin the moment. It's a delicate balance. Not tying in the binding of things. Edit to add, Yahoo web page. I'm a male and I'm really good at shredding carrots. Like really good. Could do that for hours at an incredible pace. OMG, I'm so alone. Getting over bad feedback, negative events. I have a rule that if something bad happens at work I can be upset for 20 seconds then move on, not let it bother me except to fix it if needed. People seem to think that makes me a bit psychopathic. Butchering. I work professionally with raptors, the feathered kind, not the clever girl kind, and for a while I was prepping on average 15 quail a day, from frozen thawed to plucked and gutted and portioned. It's useful in the kitchen too, for ducks, turkey, chicken. I've also processed venison before. Then when people find out that I work at a landfill, I fly the raptors to keep the gulls out. They are suddenly afraid to make me mad. Sharpening knives. It's important to sharpen your knife before you use it and after. Fuck you neighbors. Being male and having a natural rapport with kids. Kids really seem to like me, and I get along with them really well. Not quite sure why. But I've been given the stink eye by parents who don't know me when they see me interacting with kids. Like I'm the Pied Piper or something and I'm going to steal their children for something nefarious. Not being on my phone all day. People look at me wrong just idling around and looking at them. I love using the internet, playing games, etc. all day, but I am the weird one when they are on their phones when we are out drinking. Doing math in your head. When I was in class and the teacher would pose a problem, I could do it in my head before the others could get out their calculators. Everyone would get annoyed and think I was cheating somehow. Certain types of cleaning. A few years ago I was at work and someone dropped a coffee pot that shattered everywhere. So glass and liquid were in a pretty good size area. Me and my buddy left to get a mop bucket and a broom. We weren't gone long. Another co-worker of ours that stayed to pick up some of the glass even though we told him not to do it barehanded. When we got back he was wiping down a doorknob and we asked him why he was doing that. As we walked into the room the entire mess was gone. When we turned around he had disappeared from the room. The trash had a new bag in it and there was no trace of anyone ever being there. So in the 4-5 minutes it took us to get supplies and to fill up a mop bucket, this kid got all the glass shards, cleared the counter and floor of coffee, taken all the trash out, and wiped down a doorknob. He should have been a custodian, but he could have been a murderer. Being sneaky. Many times in my life I've accidentally sneaked up on people at work or in stores. I get some really weird looks from people sometimes, like, "Where the F did you come from?" looks around. A lot of items I intentionally cough, sniff or shuffle my feet so I don't scare people. Sometimes I hear other people walking and it sounds like they are stomping around like they're mad, but they just walk like that normally. TLDR, walking. So many. Lock picking, climbing over around things to go places you aren't supposed to. Breaking into cars. Playing with fire, explosives. Fixing things like computers and cars. MacGyvering situations to somehow make it work. Encryption, Tor, Darknet. I'm not a malicious person, I swear. I just have a compulsion to be able to go do things I'm not supposed to. Being really good at tongue exercises when you're a guy and a performer, musician, actor, etc. Let's just say that if you're a girl, you want to date one of these guys. Source, am a girl dating an actor. I have the drug resistance of a god, but I'm not someone who abuses drugs. I can pop T3s like candy. I have been on morphine via IV and didn't feel it. I can drink a ton of caffeine or alcohol and not even feel it. One time I drank a 40 of Jaeger entirely in jajabums at a party and still didn't black out or throw up, and I wasn't even one of the drunk ones at the party. It's only for certain medications though. There are a few medications, like sleeping pills, where I get completely out of it on a low dose. Anything to deal with pain, or anxiety, or a lot of other things I end up not even feeling them. Now, when I go to the hospital and the nurses in there see how high my drug tolerance is when I claim I'm in pain, they get very bitter and upset. They think I'm faking pain and I'm a junkie after drugs. One nurse refused to give me my medication when I was dying with E. coli. I ended up hospitalized for almost 2 weeks. The nurse was in the OR when I first went in and she saw I was in and then sent home 3 times in the previous few days and saw the drugs I was given and thought I was faking it. She would be late to give my medication by about an hour, and then would do shit like conveniently go on break after she was 1h late for another hour. Then after she got back she would wait another half hour before coming back to give me medication. My parents were in the room with me and described the way she came in and gave me my hydromorphone as her walking through the door with the needle in hand, taking 3 steps to cross the room, hitting me with the needle hard enough that my parents could hear a small thud, slamming her hand on the end of the needle, then walking out of the room, all in under 10 seconds. I was in so much pain I don't remember it quite well. They lodged a complaint with my family doctor about her. In the end she only gave me medication 3 times in about 18 hours, 6 p.m. noon, before my parents and family doctor blew up enough to have me moved to another unit. 2 of those 3 times were another nurse that took over for her the next morning. In that time period I was supposed to get 1 medication every 3 hours and another one every 6. So I only got 1/3 RD of the medication the doctors prescribed. TLDR, a high drug tolerance will make some nurses think you're junky and treat you like shit. Lock picking. Either they do it for a living, lock themselves out of their house car a lot, or they are a master thief and are about to jack all of your shit.